Point Pleasant, went from going to Jenkinson's every, weekend to living next to a cornfield and cows. And like my nearest neighbor was forever away. It was, yeah. My social life plummeted then.
So, okay, but this is someone asked you if you like sex. Oh, what is this? So, okay, fine. If someone asks you if you like sex, say, we'd love sex. Because this is about weed and about love and sex. Please welcome Amanda Moser of WeedLoveSex. Say hi.
How are you guys? I'm so excited to be here.
So, okay, since this is a cannabis-friendly thing, these are nanobites. Do you ever have these?
I have not. I assume since you got them in New Jersey that they are just CBD based?
Yeah. No, they're straight up cannabis based.
Yeah. So there's
cannabis
different there's different cannabinoids in cannabis. THC being one cannabinoid, CBD being another cannabinoid. There's actually over 250 cannabinoids. The most that most people know of CBD and THC, but those are only 2 out of the hundreds that we have discovered. So I was just curious on which cannabinoid that it was focusing on. If you got it in Jersey. Oh wait, there's medical there.
Yeah, there's medical there and recreational. And it was made recreational.
Oh, it's recreational now.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was on 420.
Oh, I'm so late to the game. See, I live in Colorado, so this is weed mecca. It's very unfortunate for the other states that are not where we are yet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I remember 420. I did a podcast with Mischief Manners on that day, the day they legalized. And I noticed that things have changed so much with marijuana culture. As you know, I had a liver transplant, right? So, and it was a height of COVID. I was all messed up. I sobered up. I wasn't done drugs in a long time, in decades, right? And I was athletic when it came to doing drugs. That's one way to put it.
I know, I love that. I'm forever using that one.
So, but like I remember like we were lucky, right? We were lucky just to get a good eighth or an ounce or something, of anything. Let alone now there's all these different things. There's different ways. There's lotions and stuff like that. There's apps you can pretty much get it.
You can go to the store and buy it now.
I know you can go, and has become. It used to be exciting buying weed, because you never knew what you'd get. It was dangerous. It was against the law most of the time.
Risky.
Now it's like going to the liquor store. The only fun I had going to the liquor store was when I was under 21. When I was
there, but then there's the flip side of like you have the selection. Whereas before it was like whatever the guy gives you, like even if it was
I'm not complaining.
Weed, you'd be like, well, what am I gonna do? Say no, and because you're my only hookup,
Yeah, no. I love the fact that there is such variety when it comes to it now, and it's the beauty of science in a way, and of course, you see it how it's monetized and everything like that, but of course it's going to happen. We could use it for good, for taxes and stuff like that, and I don't know. It should have been legal a long time ago. It definitely should. So, all right.
I know, where do we start?
Yes. Why are THC users, cannabis users, why are they better lovers?
I don't know if they make necessarily better lovers, but I can say that they're probably having more pleasurable sex. Their pleasure and overall satisfaction, at least from my research and few other studies that are out there, that it just shows that cannabis, and not just THC, once again, just one of many of the cannabinoids, cannabis can increase your sexual pleasure and overall sexual satisfaction. And so I don't know if they're doing better things. It has been shown though that cannabis also increases your sensuality, meaning it increases your taste and touch. And if you think about it, you use taste and touch a lot during sex. And
Mhm.
so, for those reasons, I guess you could say they are better lovers, but they're definitely shown to have more pleasurable sex. That's for sure.
Definitely. I agree. It's also I think that we were talking about this offline. There's certain types of art, the music, film, or anything. It's like they're into it. Like it may not be overt, but that like that a cannabis kind mind thought of that, and I think that it can be transferred to sex because
Yeah,
it makes you more creative in many ways. You know what I
it
mean?
does. And it's the opposite. I don't want to say opposite. It's very different from alcohol and sex, because alcohol and sex has been shown to be very sloppy, has been shown to you're less likely to give and get consent. You're less likely to practice sexual health behaviors, such as like wearing a condom and taking your birth control. And so you're not actually seeing that with cannabis use. So that's also a really great benefit for possibly using cannabis in the bedroom, especially as opposed to alcohol. I can say it's a lot less sloppy and, how you put it, a lot more creative.
Definitely. Okay. So we we love sex. Tell us about this. How did you become, you know, the Amanda Moser of We Love Sex? Tell us your story.
Yeah, okay. So, as I was telling you earlier, I am originally from New Jersey, or just the East Coast, and but then I moved to North Carolina in middle school, and so I was pretty much brought up in a conservative state, in a biblical state, and I don't remember at all a very good sex education, especially within the school system. And I went to college actually as a biology major, thinking I wanted to work with animals. I didn't want to be a vet. I wanted to work with animals, not really sure what I would have done. But then I was taking chemistry classes, and those were not going well. those were
Chemistry,
those were not clicking in my brain. I was only
organic
17 years
chemistry.
old, but it was just Gen Chem. It
Yeah.
was just
No, which is
Gen Chem
they
1.
they make
I could not.
general chemistry is purposely made hard so you can't get to the next step because they want to weed out the people who don't want to do
Oh, they
it.
weeded me out. I was so
It's
weeded.
brutal. It's hard. It's
It
hard.
was so
Labs,
hard.
college labs are for chemistry are long.
Yes. Yeah. And I went to college as a 17-year-old. So I also think that there was a part of my brain that wasn't really developed to even understand these abstract concepts yet. I mean, same with like how I took physics. I also don't think those are my studies of, subjects by any means, but I also think maybe a part of me is like, well, maybe my brain wasn't developed yet, and that's why I wasn't actually understanding. But point is,
Maybe
I
maybe
just
you say
wasn't doing well.
they say education is wasted on the young. I wish I paid, especially with all like my health issues, the liver transplant. I wish I paid more attention on anatomy and physiology, and in organic
Mm.
chemistry, in physics, and all that stuff like that. But one thing I did love about science, because I was going to be a pharmacist, right? I got into the pharmacy program, and I realized, and I became a pharmacy tech. And I was like, I'm gonna die if I do this. Like at first, it was like whimsical and fun, just like a lot of my drug use has been like it's whimsical and fun, and then they're like, shit, I can't do this, or I'm gonna die. um, but I did love the education spirit, the curiosity, and the willingness to learn that it inspired in me. I started looking at the world differently, by being in education, by studying organic chemistry, differential equations, a whole other thing, the study of infinity. Um, whether it's biology, physics, or chemistry, and like those are. I felt like, okay, I need this. I need to know this. It's not that I can excel in it, right? Or I could become a doctor or a pharmacist or anything like that. Not that I want to do that, anymore. But I just wanted to be around it, to know it, to know, for that hunger of knowledge, which I thought was cool. So, all right. So your goal is, you were there, and then what happened?
Yeah, so in the same semester that I was not doing well in chemistry, I was taking an elective course, a class that I just thought was going to be a fun class, something to help de-stress but still get my credits in, sort of thing. And this class was called Courtship and Marriage. And this is where I remember we had a couple of days of going over nothing but human sexuality. And I was shook because I didn't know that this was even an academic field at this time in my life. Because, when you're in school, in public school, you are taught math, science, history, and English. And that's all you get. There's nothing else outside of those four realms. And so this was the first time I was like, oh my God, like this is something I can study.
Hmm.
And I ended up getting very close with the professor. He's still a great mentor to this day. He connected me with the chair of the department that I ended up going into. From there, I started doing my own research study as a freshman in um, college, which is like unheard of to do it as an undergrad. And I just did human sexuality for all of undergrad. That was like my specialty. Remember, I was in North Carolina. So they're more conservative. And they were like, what do you mean you're studying sex? That was already a big deal. So, to everyone's surprise, when I went to grad school, I stayed at the same university. I had such a great support system of just professors and mentors that I really felt confident that they would let me study weed and sex and let me spend these next couple of years of my graduate program to specialize in weed and sex. And they gave me that room. And I'm forever grateful for that because it also allowed me to, what I call, coming out of the cannabis closet, in a way of, when you live in an illegal state, especially one that's in the Bible Belt, you are frowned upon when you speak up about smoking weed. And however, on the side, while I was smoking weed probably almost every day, and it really helped with my anxiety, my stress, being able to actually relax and have productive relaxation. Because when you're a student, it's really easy to just think of all the things you have to do. And even when you're trying to sit and relax and de-stress, it's like your brain is still going and thinking about it. And that's not very productive.
No.
Just to and
Yeah.
so I really had to work on that, and cannabis helped me with that. But at the same time, I was this star student and I loved college. I would like, I never went to parties, and I would just stay home and read all my textbooks. And I really just put a lot of effort and dedication into it. And I felt the need, this is a funny story, to literally go to each of my professors' office hours and to be like, hello, I just want you to know that I smoke weed. And
Really?
they were like, okay. And I was like, I'm still the same student that is like top of the class, gets there early, stays there late, does all her shit. And I still smoke weed every day. And I want you to know that. And I don't know why I felt the need to do this, but to me at the time, it was just, I want them to know so that if they do have a negative stigma against cannabis users, maybe I could be the one to change that. And so that's what I did. And that's pretty much how all this started. I did, for my master's thesis, a nationwide study on how cannabis affects one's sexual functioning and satisfaction. From there, we're working on publications now. It'll probably be about 4 different publications with the large amount of data that I have collected. And the rest is history. I created WeedLoveSex to have a entity, to have a house for that research, that education, that consulting. I teach, individuals, couples, as well as businesses on these these things that I have discovered knowledge wise, because this has not been done before. The research that I have conducted, I had very little to go off of previously. And so it's very empowering for me at the same time to feel that I am creating this knowledge. So that's my story.
That is wonderful. And I'm thinking, it made me think of when you said, I told my professors, I said I smoke weed. Um, yeah, I was doing more than just smoking weed when I was in college, when I was in Rutgers.
Right, right.
But there was that fear, like I don't want it to affect my grade. I don't want like there was of hiding it, of hiding everything. So like there were times I was like doing harder drugs right before exams. I still graduated, and but still, I didn't want them to know I was doing drugs. I didn't want, and because I know they would look at me. So that was bold that you did that. That's pretty cool.
Well,
So
thank you.
yeah, okay. So you also do kind of relationship coaching as well.
It's a
Okay.
part, I mean, it's all interconnected.
Yes.
With my background being in human sexuality, I know relationships. I know how to better relationships, especially within the bedroom. And I think at the end of the day, it also boils down to communication, both in and out of the bedroom. And so obviously it doesn't have to stay in the bedroom sex, but you know what I mean. So it definitely comes into play when I talk with individuals and couples, especially on how this can impact their relationship and vice versa.
So what if one of the people in the relationship really enjoys smoking pot or taking edibles or just like, loves cannabis culture because that's a thing,
Hmm. Hmm.
now
Yeah.
cannabis culture. And there's elegant and then there's the dirty, just like every other kind of culture. Um, but what if one person likes it, the other person doesn't at all? Is it something? How can they kind of connect and still have fun and good and how can they keep the relationship interesting? You know,
Yeah. How do you navigate that when it's just one person that
yes,
wants
that's
to
the best,
use
better
this
better way.
and the other one not so much? At the end of the day, it's going to have to be open-mindedness from both parties.
Mhm.
And so I think both parties are going to have to be strong in not just being open minded, but communication on both aspects. Because, you can explain this is why I want to use cannabis before we have sex. It helped me with my pleasure, it helps me with my desire, it helps me orgasm. I orgasm a lot faster and a lot more intense, and I'm able to have multiple orgasms when none of that happens when I don't use cannabis. And the other partner is going to have to be okay with that, because the last thing you want is for someone to use any mind altering substance and not have a partner that is connecting with you and could actually make the experience negative. And that is not something that I would ever want for anybody. So you're both going to have to be on the same page on maybe why are we doing this, why this helps me, and how this could maybe help you too, if I use this. And you don't have to. And I don't think, it's going to be best for everybody. But for those that it does help improve and make
Mhm.
satisfaction greater, that's what I'm here for.
Definitely. Now, a lot of addicts use cannabis because they know that they can't use heroin or cocaine for health reasons, for legal reasons, for financial reasons, for all the reasons, for the infinite amount of reasons you can't do heroin, cocaine, and stuff like that. So a lot of couples kind of mellow out basically instead of, or maybe they can't even use alcohol because it doesn't go right with them, but weed fits them, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, what's your opinion on that? On using weed to, for people who are very much addictive or have addictive personalities. It's not necessarily because weed is not physically addictive. Like you don't go through you
Correct.
don't jones for it like heroin. You know, so how do you feel about using cannabis to feed it to either feed or help or heal addiction?
Yeah, I think that's a really I want a complex question, especially because I always want to err on the side of caution. I am not an addiction specialist, so I necessarily don't know what is best for those going through addiction, and I just want to be transparent about that. But I think that if it works for you and if it really does help you maybe not use other substances and you can still live a productive life just using cannabis, then I think that that would be great. But at the end of the day, there's obviously more to it than just that, and that's about as much as I know, honestly, on just like addiction treatments and how using any mind altering substance could alter that. Because there is also the viewpoint of, if you use one mind altering substance, would it make you want to use others, especially if you have an addictive personality? And that's what I don't know.
Okay. What is the sexiest way to smoke or take weed, cannabis, in your opinion?
That's
In
such a
your
great
opinion,
way. I was
not
gonna say, because it's
everyone's
definitely,
opinion.
everyone's different.
Yeah.
Ooh, ooh. I think it's sexy to like pass like a bong or something back and forth, or like, if you're on top smoking a bong, that'd be hot.
Mhm.
I think, girl on top smoking a bong, how would that be not hot?
Yeah.
That's personal. Everyone's different, but I think that'd be hot. I think that, cannabis could also be used as foreplay. And I think foreplay is very underrated and undervalued and underappreciated.
Mhm.
I think, once again, maybe passing a joint back and forth, passing a bong back and forth, whatever. They make cannabis lube and cannabis lotions that, instead of, if you don't want that head high, you can still get the body benefits and pleasure benefits without having the mind altering state. And so I think it could really be, a little CBD massage or the cannabis infused lubricant, and just like playing around with that for a bit. I think foreplay and cannabis definitely go hand in hand.
Okay, then stranger unknown asks, do cannabis, or can cannabis be used for BDSM? Of course it can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially like, once again, the cannabis infused lotions and stuff. That'd be great for aftercare. I think aftercare too is huge, especially for BDSM community. And
Mhm.
so absolutely, and or um, using it, for the mind altering purposes to get in a different headset or mindset,
There
and
are there are
I think it
women
could really be pleasurable.
there are women who I know who actually charge.
Hello, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. I'm back.
I
I don't know what happened, but
don't either. What's
yeah,
up?
I have no idea. So yeah, so I know a woman who men actually pay her to moisturize her legs. That's it.
Mm, what a gig.
Yeah.
I could moisturize my legs. I could moisturize my arms too.
Yeah.
Damn.
Right on, right?
What
Tanek, what was this?
I am missing out on things.
Yeah, no, we're an educational show.
Thank you for teaching me. Thank you for teaching a sexologist. I want to learn more about the kink community. I'm here for it.
Oh, that's cool. So, okay, we're back though, which is good. So, yeah, let me ask you about this. I went to Exotica recently. I was working there for my friend Shari and I. We all went there to kind of promote the Dungeon Mischief Manor. Shout out to Shari. And I noticed CBT has really, they found out a way to monetize itself. So they have booths, in these these sex expos, so to speak. They have booths, and it's really like they're I mean, they're selling it right there because New Jersey is totally into it, right? They're selling it right there. How do you feel about the monetization of cannabis culture and using it with sex? I'm talking about like people making money from it, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I am glad of the expansion of it because I think it limits those companies that are doing it. Um, I don't want to say wrong, but not as well as they could. I feel like before, especially when it was not legal, we were seeing a lot of not just black market product, but like product that just like was not even good for you. And so
Mhm.
now that it's a regulated market, it makes me feel much more confident in using these products just, as a whole. And so I think there's a part to that as well. Um, You'd be surprised that not a lot of people know that there are products out there for, cannabis infused sex products.
Oh
A
yeah.
lot of, especially even in Colorado, where it's weed mecca, and you think that there's like a cannabis infused tampon on the streets. People still don't realize that there are products that can increase your sexual pleasure. I've worked at a dispensary. I was a bud tender, and no one came to me asking for sex products while I was there. And I was really wanting them to. I was like, hey, I used to be a sexologist. Don't you have, any questions? Hint, hint, wink, wink. We have products. And it was very rare. So I think they just didn't know that it was a thing. They were like, what are you talking about?
Mm. So we got a question here from Stranger Unknown. Stranger Unknown says, "I'm into ball busting." That's self-explanatory, I guess. So if it is it okay if I smoke cannabis before I get kicked in the balls? If yes, then I would like to try one.
If you want the sensation to possibly be more intense, go for it, because we know that touch is more intensified. I can only imagine being kicked is more intensified when you're stoned, or maybe you just won't care. Maybe it just depends on the strain. If you get a strain where you're like, I don't even give a fuck,
So do you
we'll
have
see.
when it comes to straight, like when it comes to indica versus sativa, and hybrid and stuff like that, do you have a preference?
They call me Stoner Barbie for a reason. So I like to start my morning with a sativa and a coffee. And then towards like afternoon, I lean over to the hybrid side of things. And then nighttime indica, round out the whole day.
That sounds like a plan. Definitely sounds like a good plan. Where did my phone go? Okay. So, all right, next question. This next. Oh, yeah. Speaking. Oh, your question about, or the question that they asked about BDSM, smoking too. Smoking is a huge fetish of
Mm.
in BDSM. It's a deep fetish of people, women smoking and stuff like that. Using being human ashtrays, men being human ashtrays, stuff like that. Think about it. You can.
Where is this?
I'm
I
sure. I'm sure they can make like a human bong. I'm sure someone's done it somewhere, some way. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's so cool to think about, like people finding it attractive to smoke weed, especially like in the dating scene. There's been so many times, even me personally being Stoner Barbie, where guys are like, not really into girls smoking weed. And I'm like, all right, well, toodaloo. And
Yeah.
so to hear the flip side of like, there's people out there that are like, God damn it, that is the sexiest thing you could do. I'm here for that.
False. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. So, okay, where are we now? Bill Hicks is a comedian, or was a comedian, very famous comedian, underground thing. This is his quote. All right. They lie about marijuana. They tell you pot smoking makes you unmotivated. It's a lie. When you're high, you can do everything you normally do just as well. You just realize it's just not worth the fucking effort. There's a difference.
I think that goes back to productive relaxation and how cannabis can really help with that. And
Mhm.
then, I'm totally with him because I smoked weed every day of undergrad and grad school, and I still got my master's by 23. So there's something to say about that. It can make you unmotivated and not give a fuck if you let it. Yeah, but that could be with anything.
I get
So
a lot done, you know. Be-
yes, and I enjoy my life more.
yeah, I no seriously because I used to do heroin and coke and drink my ass off. I used to, and I look back and I was like, I could have gotten so much more done if I didn't do any of that and just smoke pot every once in a while. Like, I could have just, why didn't I just do that? Why didn't I just like keep it cool and mellow, That's that's the way I look at it.
Well, and it's funny you say that because backstory, I remember being in fifth grade dare. And I remember being in the auditorium during an assembly, a dare assembly. And I remember the police officer was like, heroin's bad. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, cocaine is bad. And I'm like, yeah. And then they said, weed is bad. And I remember being in fifth grade, and I don't know how or why, but being like, I don't know. I don't know about that one. Like I remember thinking, and this is so clear to me that I remember this, but I remember thinking, if I'm going to do drugs when I get older, I want to try weed. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then years and years go on, and I'm like a good goody two shoes. I don't want to say goody two shoes because I wanted to try weed, but I was such a good student that like no one offered me weed. They didn't look at
Oh,
me
they
and
thought
be like,
you
no
weren't
one
one of the bad
offered me.
kids. You
No
were one
one.
of the bad kids. And it's
So yeah, they were like, she's close with the teachers. I'm not gonna ask her to smoke weed. She'd probably tell on me. When inside, and how am I gonna walk around like anyone know weed? Like I'm looking. Like I'm not that cool, so I'm not street smart like that in any way. So point is, I didn't actually get offered weed until college, and then it was like few and far between that I would like be offered because I didn't know how to find it yet, didn't even know how to ask for it. Once again, zero street smarts. And so I was like, this is horrible. How do people just like find it? Where does it show up? But then I remember going into college, really thinking that I was going to be, and this is hysterical now, but I remember really thinking I was going to be like a party girl. I thought alcohol was going to be my thing because I didn't get offered alcohol in high school either. So when I got to college, I'm like, here we go. Like now I'm going to totally be offered alcohol. And so then I realized that I don't really like any alcohol besides wine. And as like a freshman in, college, you're not offered good wine, any wine. I wasn't
Yeah.
offered any wine. I had to bring my own wine to any future. I still do. I bring my own wine because you can't rely on wine being there. And so if I want to drink BYO wine, but then I also realized that like parties, they in college, and I'm sure to this day, I wouldn't know though, but like people don't even start getting ready for them until like 10 o'clock at night.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was like, I want to be home by 10 o'clock. What do you mean? We're not getting ready till 10. What am I going to do between the hours of 6 and 10? Like nap, I guess. And that's what I've learned. I now just nap if I have to leave the house past 8. And but anyways, I and then I once again at this point in time was discovering cannabis. And so people would be like, do you want to go out? And I'd be like, no, I want to stay home and smoke weed. And then I'm asleep by 9:30, wake up, and I can still go to class tomorrow. And that's how I got my master's by 23.
That's great. Okay, so let's say now let me ask you this. Relationship wise, we can go on to the next. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. But are you in a relationship now?
No.
Okay. All right. And obviously with somebody, right? If when you are with somebody, when you have been with somebody, weed has been a part of the equation, correct?
Yeah.
So these relationships that you have had where weed has been part of the equation, where both of us have kind of grew up at first, we were either known as the kids not cool enough for weed, or because we have smoked weed, we're like, oh, one of the bad kids who did smoke weed, we kind of ride that fence, right?
Mhm.
So these people who you've had personal relationships with, did they do they know right up front all about your studies with marijuana?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
Not just smoking weed personally, but like this is Weed Love Sex is what I do. And it obviously comes up very early on, and they have to be okay with it, or I'm moving on to the next. I don't settle. I don't like downplay who I am. I'm an 100% authentic human being, and like what you see is what you get. This is the same Amanda that you'd see at the grocery store. This is the same Amanda that you see anywhere else. And if you don't like it, sorry, but this is who I am. And
So
I don't
okay,
have time for anything else.
you love weed, you love, and you love sex. So let's talk about weed, sex, and romance, right? In your opinion, just daydreaming, right? You can do anything you want. What would be a romantic night of weed, love, and sex for you?
Mm. Well, I think that smoking before going, or just like using cannabis in general before going to a nice restaurant and good food, is one of my favorite things to do, because food always tastes better when you're stoned.
The benefit,
And
is,
you're a stoner if you wait to eat until you're stoned, because it's going to be better.
yeah.
So that would be fun to do as like a pre-dinner smoke, and then
What would be
nice
the kind of food,
dinner.
sis? What would be what
Huh?
would be the what would be the type of food or the type of restaurant?
Oh. I like good food. So it would have to be somewhere. I don't know. I've been in an Italian mood lately. How about like a nice Italian restaurant with like the fresh homemade pasta
Oh yeah,
sort of deal.
oh yeah.
I don't. Yeah. Okay. Um, and then we're like just jamming to music on the way. Obviously, we're jamming. We have the same
What do
music
you
taste,
what
which
do you
like
have
makes
on?
things easier.
What do you
Oh,
have
don't
on?
ask me that. I still listen
Music,
to.
music is essential.
Yes, I need to be more hip and cool about my music, because like I still think in my head that like Paris Hilton and Britney Spears are ruling the world, and my music taste reflects that. And I literally listen to pop punk music from like 2003. Like old school Simple Plan is my favorite. Bowling for Soup, so fun. Yeah, so my music taste probably needs to like evolve, or I listen to the Pop Goes Punk covers, or Punk Goes Pop, whichever one it is. I listen to a lot of those covers, so it's like the pop music but like a little screamo. That makes
Yeah,
things
yeah, I know
fun.
what you mean.
So
I know exactly what you mean.
so that's what
I,
we're listening to.
I used to like specialize in making mixtapes, stoner mixtapes for my friends,
Oh,
and
I love that.
because I love music. I am
Yeah.
like my record collection is ridiculous. I grew up a record store kid. You know what I mean? So I was just and then when DJ culture happened, I started just collecting records and stuff like that. So anyway, okay, so you listen to you're listening, you get stoned.
We're really
You listen,
going deep in this fantasy now.
yes, so I know I like this is fun. So so you get stoned, you put on your power pop punk music, you go you go to your Italian restaurant. What do you order?
Oh, I ordered my fresh pasta. They happen to make really good mojitos there, because mojitos are hard to find. That's the one cocktail that I go for. I'm not like a liquor girl. I'm usually the sparkle rosé through and through. Um, but they actually have good mint. Fresh mint at a restaurant is like impossible. If you find it, it's a holy grail of a restaurant,
Yeah.
especially if they have good food. So they have good mint and they know how to make a good mojito. And that's what I'm there for. And that's what I pregame with. And then when my meal comes, I get my bubbly rosé and I have 2 of those. And life is great because I'm living my best life. And then we drive home and it's probably like a good 45-minute drive because I drive for good food and I want time to sober up. So this is good. This is good timing. He obviously offers ice cream on the way home and I decline.
Obviously. But if you were going to get it, what flavor?
But, you know, I always love mint chocolate chip. I know it's either a love-hate relationship for people. I do love mint chocolate chip.
What if he had it waiting for you at home?
That's great post-sex dessert is ice cream.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get ice cream to bring for home. Oh, he already had it. He brought it when he came to pick me up. He dropped it off in the freezer knowing that this is what I wanted. Come back, smoke a little more, and that's our pre-sex smoke. Okay, that's our pre-sex foreplay smoke. And he thinks it's hot that I smoke because that's a thing. And
yeah, I know that. I know that for a fact. It's very much a thing.
He thinks it's hot, and that's cool to think. And then from there, we start fooling around. We're still in the living room at this point, okay? And we're going so deep in this rabbit hole. We are so down in.
Okay, all right. I'll take you further. What are you wearing?
Oh, I look cute for the date. I wore a tight red dress, but not too skimpy, not too much skin showing, but still shows the body and still is very form-fitting. You know, sexy, but still professional. That's what we're wearing. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like disgusted. You were like,
no, that's right. I know my brain starts. I'm constantly like, I romanticize.
I thought you were like, yeah, that's not at all.
No, please, no. Trust me. That looks like in my mind. That looks magnificent. That looks sexy.
Okay,
that
great.
looks
Okay,
so romantic, and that looks incredibly romantic, and like so, like it makes like it, as a if I was the date, it would make me want to step my game up and be the most romantic and like most gentleman-like as possible. So, you know
well, yeah, I am high caliber, right? Like I don't fuck around with no fuck boys that don't treat me right because once I have standards, and I would rather stay home and smoke weed than go out with someone that doesn't deserve me. And that's honestly how I feel. So this guy in this fantasy dream world is one lucky motherfucker for me to even give him a chance.
Yeah.
Okay. Like that's how I feel about that. And you know, so smoking turns to foreplay because, you know, he thinks it's hot. And it's also really hot. Here's a fun little tidbit from a sexologist. When you take a hit, if you're using any sort of like smoking, like a pipe or a bong or something, take a hit and then blow it into your partner's mouth, like get as close as you can, blow it into their mouth, and then you can start like a little makeout sesh from there. And that's really hot. You have like the smoke all around you. And it's kind of like you are passing the cannabis smoke to them and they can actually get a high from that as well. So anyway, that's always fun to do for foreplay. Once again, they have the cannabis lotions and lubes. So just like start rubbing down, playing around with that. And next thing you know, the sex toys are out and it's Pound Town.
Yeah, sex toys are out. It's Pound Town. All right, this guy Jackson. This is Jackson. You're messing up the flow, my friend. I want to be your toilet.
You guys are teaching me so much.
And this guy's bowing down to your feet.
Perfect. Yeah. This is exactly what I deserve in my life. Beautiful.
Right. Beautiful. Edibles, tincture, squeeze, or this is squeeze.
Yeah, tell me about Squeeze. Who's Squeeze? I don't know her.
Squeeze is okay. It's Squeeze advanced nanotechnology makes fast acting effects while you know you just lift. There's a little reservoir. You squeeze it. It kind of reminds me of 5 Hour Energy.
You squeeze it directly into your mouth?
You can. You can put it in other stuff. You can put it in water.
In your drink or
It's
something?
recommended to put it in and put it in something, or not
Got
water,
it.
but like a drink, like juice or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what it's. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see the directions. Because did you notice? I don't know if I'm just getting old, but the lettering on products in cannabis, for specifically cannabis products, are really, 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 really small.
Oh god. Yeah, I don't know. They were probably like, here's the minimum or the minimum size font that you need, and they were like, that's exactly what we're going for.
Yeah, yeah. You just put a couple of drops in a liquid and you drink it, and it's I don't know. It gives me a headache. I don't like it.
Oh,
Yeah.
bummer.
I do enjoy the tincture though. I do enjoy edibles very much.
And that's the thing is that with different oh, I see my dog. With different products and brands and manufacturers, you are going to get different effects. And it's actually funny. A lot of people are surprised by the fact of when you go to a cannabis legal state and you go to a dispensary, you're going to see different strains. And after a while, you're going to see similar strains, such as like Golden Goat, Blue Dream, um, you know, perp things, the ones that just say perp in them. And you start recognizing ones that you like. And you're like, oh, I really like Blue Dream. I got it from this dispensary. I really like the way it made me feel. You would be surprised, but if you go to another dispensary and you also see Blue Dream there, it's not going to be the same strain. I don't know if that makes sense. So you can name a strain Blue Dream from different grows, from different cultivators, and that will be one genetic and one phenotype and genotypes and things like that. It's not necessarily going to be the same plant genetically from another grow. And so, unfortunately, if you find a strain that you like, such as Blue Dream from this, specific dispensary, stick with that and don't think that it's going to be the same effect no matter where you go, even if it's called the same thing.
Okay. Now, how important is it to keep your sense of humor during sex?
Oh, entirely. And that's, cannabis or not, you need to have, a sense of humor and good communication if you are going to engage with anyone, in sexual relations. I think that's very important, not just for, overall enjoyment and pleasure and satisfaction, but just respect and, in a way, consent. And, I think we just have to be on the same page. And that comes into play with communication. And then at the end of the day, when things get messy and sloppy and weird, we can laugh about it because we're on the same page.
Yeah. Do you think emotionally, how has cannabis helped you, especially in the areas of romance?
I think it puts you in a different mindset. I think it can help relax. I think it can help you get to a different part of your inner being, especially mentally and emotionally, and help you maybe express things that you couldn't express before. I also know that sexually with cannabis, it's not like alcohol where you are going to do things that you would regret the next day. It's actually very different. Where you're still experimenting, but it's things that you want to experiment with and things that are not going to be regrettable the next day for you. They're things that you've maybe wanted to try, and now's the time to do it because you feel relaxed enough.
Yeah, definitely. Now, let's talk about new things you want to try. Like one thing about cannabis, they say it's a gateway drug. In many ways, it is. I learned a lot about cool music about subcultures, film, art, books, even and science as well. Yes, marijuana is a gateway drug to many beautiful, beautiful things. So it has opened people's minds. So when it comes to sex, because you love weed and sex, and what new things are you looking for to try?
Ooh, good
When it comes
question.
to weed, love, or sex, yeah.
Finding someone that thinks it's hot that I smoke. How cool is that? You taught me that today.
Like,
I guess I knew it was a thing, but I've always known it as like cigarettes or like vape. I don't know why I never thought weed. I mean, smoke is smoke, but I don't know. Maybe that's someone's thing, like weed smoke. Weed smoking is
well, that's the
my
thing.
thing.
When it comes to fetishes, there's a woman named Abby who's been on the show several times, and she's not a professional dominatrix or anything like that. All she does is go on OnlyFans or go on YouTube, her own YouTube channel, and just smokes and just talks. And then people ask her questions. She just talks, but she's smoking the whole time, always just
Like
smoking the whole time. Cigarettes. That's and what you can do the same thing for weed. I mean, you're
I think
interested.
it's hard. I don't know what the weed smoking regulations are, like
There's always
don't need
OnlyFans.
to be going to jail over smoking weed on the internet. That'd be my luck.
Yeah. Well, look what they did to fucking Tommy Chong. It's just
Yeah.
for bongs. That's ridiculous. Now, how do you feel? Where do you think we're going as a country? When it comes to legalization of marijuana, people are getting their sentences reduced. But people have paid money for these laws. People have gotten in trouble. People's lives have been ruined. You know, have been they've been labeled as criminals. They didn't get jobs probably because they did some time for just possession or something like that. So where do you think we're going with this?
I think it's gonna be a battle, but I think we're going in the right direction. I don't think it's gonna be easy, but I think we're gonna get there in terms of just federal legalization, expunging records for marijuana, anything. I don't even want to say crimes, but penalties.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're gonna get there. At least I have hopes that we're gonna get there. And I really hope that it's within my lifetime because that would be really cool for me to see.
Yeah, that would be. Let's hope. Let's think positive about things. Okay, we're almost done. Rapid fire recommendations. They don't have to be related to weed, love, or sex, but they can be. And these recommendations, they don't have to define you as a person. They're just like, oh, this is. So it's media basically. So first one is recommend a film.
A movie? I don't watch movies.
You never watched a movie ever?
I do watch movies. I don't watch movies. Like okay. I don't even know.
All right.
I'm not good at this game. Next question.
Recommend a song.
Ooh.
Any song.
Okay. I have to give a Britney Spears song. And this is a very underrated song that Britney Spears has done that no one knows about, but it's called Perfume. Perfume by Britney Spears. Top notch. Love her. Queen.
Interesting. Okay. If you like Britney Spears, you should check out Spring Breakers. They do a weird twist on one of the Britney Spears songs.
Isn't that a movie?
It's a movie called Spring Breakers where they interlope. They do I think two versions of a Britney Spears song, not that song.
I love Britney Spears.
Yeah. Queen. Yeah, Spring Breakers. That's a movie.
I know. I don't watch movies.
All right. Recommend a book. Any book, any kind of book.
I do. So there's a book that actually got me. It was very influential for when I was starting as a sexologist, and it's called Becoming Cliterate. by Lori Mintz, and it was very inspirational. It was about the orgasm inequality gap, on how women are having far less orgasms regularly as opposed to men. And it was a huge inspiration for my research, and it's mentioned in my thesis. Very, very influential for me.
I want to read that. Definitely. It's funny when even the title, even the title, I just talking about education and learning and stuff like that in study hall when everybody was goofing off in the library and study hall. I was literally looking up and not a teenager. I'm in elementary school. I'm looking up the word clitoris in the encyclopedia in the dictionary. I
See,
was
I
that.
did too, but I will say I've always been very interested in sex, but it was never from a sexual point of view. It was actually
Yeah,
a very much a mindset of curiosity.
yeah, exactly. Me
Um,
too.
it was strictly curiosity. I
Hmm.
remember my friend across the street, I kid you not, she was a couple years older than me. And so her parents gave her a puberty book. And, my parents haven't given me a puberty book yet because I was younger than her. And so I remember when I was over her house, and anytime like she was in the shower or bathroom or busy, I would like sneak to her bookshelf and like look through her puberty book. And I was so fascinated, but I felt so embarrassed to want to know about these things because when you're a kid, like, sex is like a funny word. It's not like anything where you can be taken seriously if you try to bring up. And
Yeah,
but I remember really being curious about it and really wanting to know, but like I didn't know where to get that information. And that's why I was so starstruck when I was in college and I realized like, oh my God, this is an academic field. When growing up, I was just taught that it was hush hush, we don't talk about it, and I had to like sneak around to learn about it.
yeah, definitely. And one thing I do notice is that a lot of the professional dominatrixes that I know from around the world, they're evolving into coaching and sex therapists and being
Yeah.
sex therapists and stuff like that. And it, it's really interesting to see. Just if you think about it, like as a student, a whimsical student who wants to learn, who's curious, wants to learn everything. I find that fascinating because you never know what kind of class is out there. There's a class out there for something, you know what I mean? And I like that. I think that's really cool. All right, so recommend. We did a book. Recommend a work of art or an artist, any kind of art, any medium, any style.
You're making me look so bad right now.
That's me. It's fine. Don't worry.
What artist?
Any kind of art. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a favorite artist. I That sounds so uncultured of me. That really does. I remember when I went to the Denver Art Museum for the first time, I was very stoned. And I remember I saw some Monet and that was cool. So I guess that one because I got to see
Okay.
it in person.
That's a perfect
And
answer.
that was super cool. Um but I must say I highly recommend Art Museum after smoking or some edibles because it was very enlightening. Like you see art in a whole other way. Unfortunately, I obviously don't know the artist. I do know I saw Monet. That was really cool.
Okay. Now, when it comes to gatherings and smoking, right? You prefer large gatherings or intimate, small ones?
Intimate small ones. Yeah, for sure. I hang out. I mean, same with like my dating styles, the same with my friend group. Like I'm very selective on who I spend my time with because my time is precious and I'm busy. And if I'm going to set out time for you, like that means something to me. Um, because I don't just spend time with anybody. I'm very outgoing, but I'm
Mhm.
not extroverted in the way that I typically gain energy from hanging out with people. I really don't. I like being at my place and I like hanging out by
Yeah.
myself. And if I'm going to hang out with, a few select people, I think that would be best over a larger crowd for sure.
Okay. So what's next for Amanda? What is like? Are there any projects that you're working on? Any classes that you're giving? Any appearances?
Yeah,
Anything?
yeah. So I'm always doing consultations with people. So anyone that does want to learn more about how to integrate cannabis into the bedroom, always working with new clients. But I'm really focusing on publishing my research, scholarly journal, peer reviewed. It's going really well. And so we're just working on final edits on that. And that'll be really exciting once that's published. And like I said, it's going to be about 4 different publications, and so this is just one of them. So that's really exciting. So that's the big thing that I'm working on right now, and just overall living my best life, you know.
That's wonderful. Everybody, and how can we contact you? How can we follow you? Twitter, Instagram, Facebook,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Well, hopefully you can post the links for
I will.
everyone, but it's just WeedLoveSex, and it's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. Wonderful. Everybody can find me at Nicholas Tanek on Twitter. All the writers and the people involved at Friends Kinky on Twitter, Instagram, Your Kinky Friends, FetLife. We're on FetLife, Your Kinky Friends. No spaces. Just, yeah. It's getting late, my friends. My dom is calling me. Please stay on the line after we're done, but I got to go. Remember the cardinal rule,
Enjoy.
everybody. Remember the cardinal rule, everybody. Be cool, be kind, keep an open mind.